To play with real emotion and feeling, there are a few techniques that you need to master on the guitar. The number one technique to master, though, to convey real emotion is vibrato. Hey there, Owen Vickers from Guitar Mastery Method here. We have taught hundreds of thousands of guitar players just like you from all around the world to really improve their guitar playing. There's a difference between this lick and this lick. Vibrato can turn a good sounding guitar lick into a really great emotional sounding guitar lick. Vibrato is what singers use to change the pitch of their voice slightly to really add some emotion into their singing. And luckily, we can emulate that on the guitar. What is vibrato then? Vibrato is the changing of the pitch of a note. It can be rapidly or it can be a little bit slower. You can also vary the amount of pitch change that you put into vibrato. So we'll be doing some demos of this. We'll have some licks using vibrato, and I'll show you different ways that you can get vibrato. So let's quickly talk about that. What are the different types or ways that you can have vibrato? There's wrist vibrato, finger vibrato, tremolo bar vibrato, if you have one. Not on this guitar. And there's a full arm movement to the type that Eric Clapton, for instance, uses. So let me demonstrate each of those for you now. So that's wrist vibrato. So the movement that I'm making is coming from twisting my wrist, like that. There's a few things technically that we need to look at here. Always good to have the thumb on the top of the neck when you're doing vibrato, and also just the inside of your first finger. Put that on the bottom of the neck so that you're giving the wrist something to pivot on. If we pick a note, let's play 8th fret on the B string. If we get our hand into this position, fret that note. It might also help have that second and that first finger on that B string as well, so we can really control the vibrato. If we pick the note and then just twist our wrist slightly, see how it's just ever so slightly raising the string up and down. So it's a very slight change in pitch. Now, as I said before, you can go fast with your vibrato. You can have what's called a wide vibrato, which is just increasing the pitch more and more. This is a slow vibrato. And a faster vibrato. Still coming from that wrist movement. And this is a wide vibrato, so we're putting a bit more distance into the string. Can even do a fast wide vibrato. The second type of vibrato that I mentioned is finger vibrato. Now, this is something that's used a lot more on classical guitar, maybe even on acoustic. Not as effective on the electric as wrist vibrato. Basically, you're going to be playing a note, and then the vibrato is going to come from the movement of your finger back and forward in this motion. The whole arm vibrato that I mentioned before, that's used by people like Eric Clapton, is a bit of a strange technique and something that you won't see too often, but when you see him do it and you hear him do it, you know that it works for him. The basic premise behind this is that we're playing a note and our thumb comes completely off the back of the neck and just floats free. So all the vibrato is coming just from that finger moving up and down. And you will see sometimes when Clapton's playing this, it looks like the whole neck of the guitar is just going along for the ride. A little bit later, I'll swap guitars and show you how you can use the tremolo arm if you have a guitar with a tremolo unit attached to it to get vibrato. This is used by Hank Marvin, David Gilmour for a really expressive, very vocal-like tremolo. So I'll show you that in just a little bit. One thing that's really important when you're doing vibrato is to let the note return to pitch between the times that you raise the note up. So if we're playing, stick with this 8th fret on the B string. If we were to pick that and play it, then just slightly raise it up. It's going a little bit sharp, but because of the way that we're letting that note go up and come back down, it doesn't sort of hit your ears being, well, that's out of tune, it's back in tune. It's a really nice sound to your ear. But remember, let it come back down to pitch. Also, with the direction of vibrato, it only really matters the most on the low E string and the high E string. Obviously, if you're doing your vibrato downwards on the high E string, you're going to fall off the end of the neck and it's not going to sound so good. It's a cool effect that you can use. It doesn't make for good vibrato. So on the high E string, your vibrato is going to be all upwards. And conversely, on the low E, you don't want to be falling off that way. So all your vibrato will be down. On the rest of the strings, your vibrato could go either way. So you can vibrato downwards or vibrato upwards. You want to be able to execute vibrato with any of your fretting hand fingers. So really good exercise that we can use. We'll take the chromatic scale and we're going to play this on the G string. So let's start off with our first finger on the 5th fret of the G. And then we're basically going to be playing 1 fret for each finger. So first finger at the 5th, second finger at the 6th, third finger at the 7th, and little finger at the 8th fret. What we're going to do is just pick a note and just vibrato with each of our fingers. So we'll start off with first finger, second finger, third finger, and little finger. And we're not doing a very wide vibrato, it's a very, very shallow vibrato, just to build up a bit of strength in our fingers. What about adding vibrato to a bent note? Now, a bending of a note is another extremely emotional technique that you can put into your playing. But we can make it sound even more emotional by putting vibrato on the end of that bend. Now, the mechanics of this are the opposite of doing vibrato on a fretted note. With a fretted note, we are doing a slight bend and release to get the pitch of the note up and back down again. We've already bent up the note, so the pitch of the note is already up there. So to get vibrato, we're just releasing it back down a little bit and then re-bending it up to where it was. So if we bend up this note, 10th fret on the B string, and then just release a little bit, and then reapply the bend, release, reapply, just in that motion. All right, let's get into some licks that use vibrato. This is lick number 1 in the PDF. I will play it for you and then break down the techniques that I've used. We start off by sliding from the 10th fret on the D string up to the 12th fret. We're using our third finger for that. This is a very fast slide, so we'll pick the note at the 10th fret and slide straight away up to the 12th. We then play the 10th fret on the G with our first finger, and we're putting some vibrato on that. So a bit of a wrist vibrato there. Remember, your thumb on the top, finger touching the bottom of the neck there. Then go back down to the 12th fret on the D string. Next up, we go into a bend with vibrato. So 12th fret on the G. We're going to bend that up a full step. So our target note is this pitch at the 14th. So just play those two notes just to compare that you're getting a bend in tune. Play the fretted note at the 14th, and then bend up at the 12th, just to make sure you're getting the right pitch. So once we've bent that up, remember to apply vibrato. We're just releasing the bend a little bit and reapplying the bend. So we'll bend it up to pitch, and then just release it back down and back up. But a little bit quicker than that. We now go up to the 13th fret on the B string, and we're doing a full step bend. So the target note we're going for is the 15th fret. So we bend that up. We then release the bend down and pick the 13th fret and do some vibrato on that note. We then go to the 12th fret on the G, and we're going to do a full bend there. So target note 14th. Bend it up, release it back down, and play the 10th fret on the G. Then finish up the lick by playing the 12th fret on the D string and putting some vibrato on it. Let me play the whole lick for you slowly. Lick number 2 uses vibrato on 2 strings at the same time. This is a very bluesy sounding lick. Let me play it for you and then I'll explain it. We start off by playing the 11th fret on the G with our second finger and sliding it up to the 12th fret. We then put our third finger on the high E string at the 12th. With your picking hand, pick the first one with a downstroke, and then the high E string with an upstroke. Now we're applying vibrato to both of these notes, so pick the first note, slide up to the 12th, and then as soon as you hit that 12th fret on the high E, you're going to start vibratoing both notes because that first note will still be ringing out. So get that wrist action, start shaking the strings. We then move down 1 fret, same fingers, same strings, and play the 11th fret on the G and the high E string at the 11th. And we want to keep the vibrato going while we're doing this. So the first 2 sections there. Keep that vibrato going. We then move down to the 10th fret, exactly the same. So for those three sets of notes. We then go to the B string at the 10th fret, B string 8th fret, second finger goes on the 9th fret of the G, and then our third finger back to the 10th fret of the B with some vibrato. So just that last section by itself. Let me play the whole thing for you slowly now. Here is lick number 3. In this one, we're going to be doing a double stop vibrato, which is a very cool sounding technique. Let me play the lick for you and then I'll explain it. Alright, so we go straight into that double stop with vibrato. So we're playing the 7th fret on the G and B strings with our first finger, playing those two together. And what we're going to do is we're going to apply vibrato to them both by bending down, just pulling our string, both strings down towards the floor with our first finger. We then play the 9th fret on the D string with our 3rd finger, 7th fret on the D string with our first finger, then jump straight into a bend on the B string at the 10th fret with our 3rd finger. And we're going to apply some vibrato to that bent note. We then go to the 7th fret of the high E string with our first finger. Then our 3rd finger goes up to the 10th fret on the high E string, and we're going to bend that up a full step. So our target note is the 12th. And of course, we're going to put some vibrato on that bent note. We then release it back down and pick the 10th fret. And then on the high E string. And then on the B string, 10th fret, we're going to go with our 2nd finger, with our first finger helping out, and do a full step bend. Target note, 12th fret. And we're going to apply some vibrato to that bent note. So this is where that chromatic exercise that we did with practicing each of our fingers vibratoing is going to come in handy, because if the less number of fingers that you're using for a bend, the less control you're going to have over the vibrato. So we've only got the 2 fingers on that last note. So we've got to really build that strength up. Let me play the whole lick for you slowly once more. Through the magic of television, I now have a different guitar. This one, being a Fender Strat, has a floating bridge on it with a trem arm. We can use this to add some vibrato to notes or entire chords. If I was to play an A minor chord and then just depress the bar down and release it back up again, we'll get a nice little shimmering vibrato on it. It's also really good for single notes. You can also use it for other things like harmonics. I hope you enjoyed this video. Remember, vibrato is the #1 technique to master to add feeling and emotion to your guitar playing. Please do go ahead, click the subscribe button down below, click the notification bell icon, and you'll know when all of our new lessons come out. In the description box down below, I'll put a link to a practice session cheat sheet. This is going to show you exactly what you need to be playing every time you pick up your guitar to get the most out of your practice sessions. See you in the next lesson.